Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
Welcome back to the Dynasty Nerds Podcast. Once again, Rich is still tanning those cheeks. He is gone for the week, but I'm here to host Garret Price, here with my good friend Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
And, of course, the good-looking Jared Wackerly.
What's that? I fell off on that one.
That's all right.
Sorry, that was more whacktastic than the last one.
It's late now.
It is late. So, after we did this free agency episode, we thought it would be fitting to say, like, hey, how did some of the values change? How are guys looking post-free agency? So, we did a post-free agency mock draft. Now, we did not include the rookie picks in this because obviously that would change things drastically, but we just wanted to see players on their own. How afraid are we of drafting running backs in this draft? What quarterbacks moved up and down depending on where they landed or what receivers landed with them? Those types of things are the things that we kind of wanted to know. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on like the pick by pick analysis, but more the general sweeping thoughts of this. We'll still tell you guys all the picks, but just more the sweeping thoughts of how this works. So let's start off with the very first round. I had the 1-1. Jared had the 1-2, which I think was very intentional. I think he wanted to try to steal all my picks. And then,
Actually, I just really wanted Jayden.
He's like, I just really want Jayden Daniels. And then Matt's like, screw you guys. I'm going as far away from you as it can. I'm going to the 12th pick. You guys can be all buddy down here. I want nothing to do with this.
I read that as Matt wanted as much time in the first round to wait for his pick because he was busy at the time.
I was super busy. I was doing something. I was like, I need to pick last, man.
I knew it.
You nailed it.
In these kind of mocks too, I love going towards the end because I don't get dinged twice in the middle. Like I only have to pick both guys once, which is kind of
I like that. I didn't think about that.
That was my other reasoning. I'm like, dude, I'm busy. I need time, and then I need to get 2 picks off and then have a bunch of time again. Like I really had stuff going on. So that was part of it. That was definitely, you guys both nailed me a little bit on my reasoning.
Love it. I love it. Well, the Nerd Herd drafted with us, and they did a fantastic job. Even with us saying, like, towards the end, like, guys, we got to finish up. 10-minute clock. Let's go. They rallied. They did a good job. So appreciate all the Nerd Herders in there that joined us in this draft. So let's start off with the 1-1 here. We had Josh Allen go 1-1, Jayden Daniels 1-2, Pat Mahomes 1-3, Lamar Jackson 1-4, Jamar Chase went 1-5, Jalen Hurts 1-6, Brock Bowers 1-7, Joe Burrow 1-8, Justin Jefferson 1-9. We had Malik Neighbors 1-10, Bijan Robinson 1-11, and then Gibbs at 1-12. Jared, I don't think you or I need to talk much about our picks. They are pretty standard in the first round. Those are the first 2 guys in almost every draft you're going to see. So I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on that.
Did you tell everyone this is Superflex tight end premium?
I think so, but if not, it is Superflex tight end.
Just
premium.
wanted to clarify that.
Third round reversal.
Brock Bowers went 1-7, which is where he should go, but just wanted to make sure everyone understood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So, Matt, the first talking point really is kind of you at 112. You had the option of some quarterbacks, some running backs, some receivers. You said, you know what? I want to take that young running back, and you took Jamir Gibbs at 112. Do you like what prompted you to take him there?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, with Jamar Chase going off the board as the first wide receiver, which to me was a little bit of a shock, but I guess with him signing the deal and everything, there's some security there. It kind of makes sense. But with him, Justin Jefferson and Neighbors, kind of all 3 of those guys going, and really, I'm thinking I'm going to get Bijan Robinson. It's going to be great. I really want to get this. You know, I have 2 picks in a row. I'm gonna go running back and then whatever quarterback I deem necessary. Robinson, of course, goes 1 pick before me, so I did get a little bit jump there. But I wasn't going to scramble and change up everything I want to do because I still love Jamir Gibbs. And he is a difference maker for me. So I decided to take him as my consolation prize to Bijan Robinson, and then kind of and then on my next pick, I'm gonna end up getting a quarterback that I know that I want. So no big deal.
We know that I love that. That's a big shift in my strategy, is that young running back early, and then I let the rest of the draft if it's the right guy in the right spot. But Jared, how do you feel about taking a running back in the first round of a startup?
I don't hate it if it's a Bijan or Jamir Gibbs, like you said. Like those are elite guys, and they're super young. So that's it, and they have to have the draft capital investment like they do from their teams. So I don't mind it as long as it's the right asset, like you said. I'm a little surprised to see how far CJ Stroud dropped in this one, and see, like Matt, you took Herbert over Stroud, which in ADP right now, Stroud's actually going in front of Herbert, Caleb Williams, and Drake May, who all got taken before him here.
Jared, you have not been listening much lately. If you have, you would know that we have become anti CJ Stroud. That's
Okay.
probably a little too strong, but the hard part is his ADP feels really high compared to what we've seen from his output. So in his rookie season, he was quarterback 10, had a great season. We saw him kind of come back to earth last year, wasn't even a quarterback 1. And the hard part is, like, he needs incredible passing seasons just to be like a top 10, 12 guy, because he offers no rushing upside. And so I think that's the hard part about CJ Stroud is, yes, he offers the youth, which is really nice, but does he have like a fantasy football ceiling like some of these other guys? And I think that's what makes him a little bit of a harder one for me. I don't know about you, Matt.
Yeah, no, ditto, and that's why I ended up going with Herbert. I mean, he finished last year as QB 12, and it was really after a bit of a slow start to that season. And I do think he's going to be firmly in that QB1 discussion. I just think Jim Jim Harbaugh he's a quarterback centric type of head coach, and he's going to get the most out of Herbert. And I feel pretty good. I know he runs the hell out of the ball, but I think he still puts his quarterback in a really good position, and kind of started leaning a little bit more on the passing game as that season went on.
He did. He absolutely did. So, as Matt said, he took Justin Herbert at 2-1. 2-2, we see Caleb Williams, Brian Thomas Jr. at 2-3, which might be the earliest I have seen him go. That was a little bit of a surprise to me. Not a bad selection necessarily, just a little surprising, because he went ahead of CeeDee Lamb, who went next, then Drake May, and also ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those are the two that it kind of surprised me he went ahead of. Puka Nacua at 2-7, Trey McBride at 2-8, 2-9, we had Nico Collins. 2-10, CJ Stroud, Drake London at 2-11, Marvin Harrison Jr. at 2-12. So we'll get to Jared and I's picks in a second there. But how do you guys feel about taking the upside of a Brian Thomas ahead of the slightly older CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown?
I think it's a little more of too much of a gamble still, compared to what I know I'm getting in CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's not like both those guys aren't even that old. They're older than Brian Thomas, but I'd much rather I just think they're safer. I'd much rather get those two guys still.
I'm with you, man. I think I like Thomas. I think he's going to end up being good, but with 1 year under his belt, it does feel just a hair early. Just those two guys early, maybe. You know what I mean?
You don't want to miss here.
Right, because if he has some sort of sophomore slump, if the new offense isn't as I guess friendly to Brian Thomas as the old one, which I think it will be, but for whatever reason he doesn't fit in it, or whatever language that coach is speaking, you know what I mean? Liam Cohen is speaking his offense language doesn't click or whatever. Brian Thomas, there's just too many little tiny unknowns for me. While CeeDee Lamb has got basically the same situation, even though the head coach changed, the offensive coordinator got promoted to head coach, and obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown lost his offensive coordinator, but he's still clearly the best wide receiver on that team, and they're going to run things through him. So I would imagine both those guys have a pretty stable situation. Brian Thomas, I think, is going to be phenomenal. He's only 21. I think he's still 21. If not, he's 22. Okay. so he's super young, but those guys aren't old either.
And he's still
so
tied to T-Law next year.
yeah,
T-Law has not been great.
No, but I think he produced at a pretty, I mean,
Yeah,
high
he did.
level last year.
He almost did
and that was
better
with-
actually without T-Law.
That was with Mac Jones, but
Yeah.
Mac Jones.
I mean,
You would expect him to be the focus of the offense.
I
I
would.
don't expect a bad season from Brian Thomas Jr. at all, but I definitely get the hesitation ahead of those other guys. So we get down the row. I don't think anything else was super surprising. J-Wack, you took Drake London there at 211, getting your wide receiver one. I also got a young wide receiver one for myself with Marvin Harrison Jr. At 212. Taking London ahead of Harrison, is it just because, hey, we've seen it, he's proven it? Like, is that what prompted you to do that?
For sure. That was it. He's still super young. Looked great with Penix as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he finally has someone that can actually throw him the ball. So I think it's wheels up from here.
To be fair, had he been there, I also would have taken Drake London ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. But I wasn't upset about taking Marvin Harrison Jr. He's a little bit more of a risk than I typically take inside my first 3 to 4 rounds. I tend to play pretty conservative on my early rounds, so this was a bigger risk than I'm used to taking. But it's funny that we call him such a big risk because, yes, maybe his rookie season wasn't legendary like we've seen out of some other guys, but still, like, he had 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. Like,
you made it worth it.
He still had a pretty good year. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see how
you made
it goes.
it worth it. I like what you did with your next pick here, though, too.
Yeah, I definitely try. I was hoping this would work out, but this was not where I get both picks at the turn because it went back to Matt at 3-1. So
dang,
that's where it got a little.
That's funny. It still worked. Like, that played out.
I was nervous that it was not going to, but I'm glad it did. So he got Jordan Love at 3-1, then Ladd McConkey at 3-2, Bo Nix at 3-3, Garrett Wilson went 3-4, Sam Laporta 3-5, Jackson Smith and Jigba 3-6, Devon Achane 3-7, then Brock Purdy, Rashee Rice, Rome Odunze. Jared, you've got Breece Hall at 3-11, and I ended up going with Kyler Murray at 3-12. So, Matt, Jordan Love there. I think that's a really nice young duo you have there. So now you have Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, 2 younger quarterbacks that still have a lot of upside, and then the running back. Do you feel pretty good about your start?
No, I feel really good right now. Obviously, I don't feel great about my wide receiver position because I don't have one yet at this point in the draft, and I've seen a lot of good ones go. So that never feels good to me. So this was like, it's kind of the decision you make, right? When you're going running back early, if you're gonna go quarterback, you're gonna have a deficiency somewhere, and likely at the wide receiver position in a tight end premium. It could be tight end premium if there's at the tight end premium position if there's been a run already. Luckily for me, there hasn't been a huge run of them. But once Trey McBride went, like that, my decision was made. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go quarterback here and kind of see how this wide receiver thing pans out as I go along. It ends up, we'll see how it ends up, but I'm pretty happy to get Jordan Love. I think he was quarterback 16, 17 last year, and he was dinged up and injured. So I love the combination of having Herbert and Love long term.
Absolutely.
I don't love the Sam Laporta pick at 3-5, just to interject, Garrett.
No, that's fine.
It's a little early for me.
I would agree with that. Really, it's the 2 main tight ends. And then for me, my strategy is if I don't get one of those first 2, I'm more or less waiting a long time. Like I'm not settling. Now I got a guy earlier than I actually have typically taken tight end. So I was kind of happy with who I got where I got him. But that being said, I'm with you. I'm not the biggest like Sam Laporta, but it's definitely an upside play. We've seen him be elite, but we do have worries of, hey, what happens now that Ben Johnson's gone and the offense is, I mean, they haven't lost anybody in the offense. So are there really more targets to be had anywhere? Not really, because it's the same offense. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky with Sam Laporta. So I don't disagree there. Jared, you took Breece Hall at 311. So you get the RB, ended up being the 4th running back off the board. Achane did go ahead of Breece Hall here. Had Achane been there, Are you taking him over Breece Hall, or
Probably.
is it okay? I wasn't sure
would
who
have
was
taken
3, who was 4
Achane.
for you.
But I love getting Breece Hall there too. Like I'm pretty happy with getting Daniels and just getting like top guys at each position to me.
Mhm.
So I like that pick because it's
Yeah.
mine.
It's my pick, so I liked it.
I did.
Hard hitting. I ended up getting Kyler Murray here at 312, so I ended up getting my quarterback 2. This is about the range he typically goes, so I was happy to see that he was still there. I get the nice little stack with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison. I'm not typically like prioritize stat guy, but it's always nice when it happens. Like it's fun to have that because you do get to see those fantasy points jump when there's a big play.
It's big. It can win
it
you
is.
weeks. Yeah.
It absolutely can. So I went with Kyler Murray there. And then I got my running back 1 off the board. And it's tough to take a running back that's a little on the older side this early. But that new contract and just how freaking dominant he was, I felt really good about taking Saquon Barkley here. He's one of the few running backs in the NFL right now where I am not, if I have him, I'm not worried about what happens in the draft. And I can't say that for most backfields. Honestly, almost every backfield, if it's not Detroit, Atlanta, or Philadelphia, I'm watching the draft closely. Now, do I think that somebody's going to Green Bay? Probably not. Do I think like there's other ones where I'm pretty sure that guy's fine, but those are really the only 3 backfields where I'm like, no, they're good. They're not adding anyone of consequence there. So I liked getting him here. Then you took his teammate AJ Brown at 4-2, Jared. So you've got 2 wide receivers now, a running back and a quarterback. So pretty nice, kind of diverse setup you've got here. How do you feel 4 picks in?
I'm liking it. I thought I got good value again on AJ Brown. So now I got 2 potential wide receiver 1s in Drake London and AJ Brown, and a guy that could be the RB1 any given year in Breece Hall. If he can get a capable quarterback, we'll see. But I love your pick with Saquon there at 4-1. I mean, you're getting the RB1 from 2024. Like that's at RB 5, right? So
yeah, RB5. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great pick.
I appreciate it. Right after that, 4-3, we've got Bucky Irving, then Baker Mayfield, Trevor Lawrence, T. Higgins, Jared Goff, Kyron Williams, Michael Penix, Jonathan Taylor, Devonta Smith, and then Matt, you were up at 412. We saw a lot of running backs, a lot of quarterbacks go. Do you end up getting your wide receiver 1 here, Matt?
No, not quite yet. So the guys that I was looking at
guys?
that I was the guys that I was hoping would get back all went. So literally, I mean, AJ Brown, I would have loved to have gotten back. I mean, obviously, Jared took him there pretty early in that round. So my hopes faded pretty quickly, but then I start adding guys to my queue, right? Like I know my picks coming up here kind of soon. So I started, and it was T. Higgins, it was Devontae Smith. And then I was like, oh man, Jonathan Taylor, I wouldn't mind doubling up my running backs if I'm not going to get my wide receiver. So I put him on. I put him on the list as well, and literally all these guys just start getting picked right in a row. So I'm not gonna say I panicked because I don't think I panicked, but I wanted to get the last tight end that I feel really good about, because then I'll feel good, because I only feel good when I have a nice tight end situation. Tight end premium, I need to have it. So I went out and got TJ Hawkinson as my last pick, because he's the last guy that I feel safe. I feel comfortable. I think he's going to do well. He's a full year removed now from the injury, and it's going to be his year. I feel like to gobble up a bunch of these targets. Nothing else has really changed. The quarterback situation, of course, will change, but I don't think it's a negative. I think this is a lateral type of move, going to JJ McCarthy here, who was, we've mentioned it before, he was kind of winning that race to be the QB1 before the meniscus injury and the surgery and everything. So I think Hawkinson is a nice solid tight end going into 2025, and I just wanted to get the last kind of solid guy.
It's orphan season over at myffpc.com. Yes, head over there. If you use promo code NERDS, we're going to give you $25 off any entry into any contest or league. If that's a $35 league, you're just now paying $10, but you could be in a league up to $2,500 over at myffpc.com. The nice part is, if you want to play high stakes fantasy football, you don't have to worry about the league folding and some sketchy manager running away with all the money. It is the best place to go play Dynasty fantasy football. And the FFPC Dynasty Orphans are being auctioned off now. Find a diamond in the rough when you buy your next Dynasty team. It's just like you're shopping on eBay. Go to myffpc.com, enter promo code NERDS, and you'll get $25 any new startup at myffpc.com. So who did you take at 5-1? Did you get your wide receiver here?
I finally got a wide receiver. I don't know if he's my wide receiver one. Nobody knows if he's a wide receiver one. It's Jayden Reed. So I this was one of those things where I was like, I can get a stack. I can stack him with Jordan Love. I think he's going to be the guy, especially early on in the season with the Watson injury. We'll see if anyone establishes themselves or they continue to just spread the ball around like crazy and kind of maddening everybody all at once. But my money is on Jayden Reed to be the guy that kind of the cream that rises to the top here in Green Bay.
Matt, I think you reached. I think you reached on Jayden Reed. I think you reached on Hawkinson, man.
All right. Well,
he's calling you out.
One man's trash is another man's Xavier Worthy. So I don't know.
Love it.
That's what you got coming down the pipe.
Hey, Worthy or Reed? I don't know.
All I know is
I think I'd rather have Worthy.
All I know is I won. Okay, next we have JJ McCarthy, Dak Prescott.
I just want to give you shit.
James Cook, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore at 5'6", then Chris Olave, Josh Jacobs. We've got Chase Brown at 5'9", 5'10", Zay Flowers, 5'11", Xavier Worthy, and then 5'12", Tua. So Jared, I don't think there's anything in there overly surprising. The one guy that's kind of tough to know where to take right now is Christian McCaffrey. Like, what are you guys doing with Christian McCaffrey right now? Are you okay taking him in the 5th round of a startup? Is that too early? Like, risk reward?
I think he can still be RB1. Like, he could still be the RB1. He is going to be an RB1. Sorry. So I was looking to draft him, and then I saw he was already picked at that point. So
okay. What about you, Matt?
I mean, obviously nervous. You know, he makes me nervous. The Achilles tendonitis and all that kind of stuff that never seemed to really go all the way away last year it's bothersome. But he's such a special player that you have to take the risk at some point. So I think this is appropriate. You know, if there was none of that stuff last year, he would have been off the board already. So even though he's getting older, it would have been him and Saquon kind of in the same area. You're getting him, you know, a round or so later, round and a half later than the Saquon. So you got to cross your fingers. I mean, it is really you're taking a risk, and you know it at that point. And from there, adjust accordingly for the rest of your draft. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have to back him up with somebody solid to figure it out in case he is gone for an extended period of time or forever. You know what I mean? Like it could be one of those things where it pops his Achilles and he's just never the same back. Player. Yeah. So
what do you think, Garret?
That's the risk, but it is what it is.
I have a hard time drafting running backs typically in this range, which is funny because we'll get to one of my picks here in a second. But typically I don't take running backs in this range. Usually I'm taking a guy or two in the first 4 rounds and or then I'm waiting until like rounds 9, 10 and beyond. Like I don't typically like to delve, especially pre-draft, in those like middling running back waters, because that just feels like a pick that could really bite me in the butt at some point. So I typically don't. So I would have had a hard time, like even if Christian McCaffrey was there for me, I don't know that that's the route I would have gone. But I understand it. You're playing like we're now in the 5th round. Like now's where you start to swing for the fences a little bit more. So I get that. Like that could be a home run pick, but it could as easily be a strikeout. So I get it. I just don't know if I would have done it personally. Jared, I know after our next couple picks here, I got a not thrilled text message from you.
Well, I mean, I usually have a QB2 by now. So at 5'11", I took Xavier Worthy. I think just a ton of upside there. But I was thinking, since Garrett already has 2 quarterbacks, he took Josh Allen at 1-1, Kyler Murray at 3-12, that there's no way he's going to take a quarterback at the turn. So I was like, all right, I'm good. I'm just probably going to take Worthy in case he wants him and come back around and get Tua. And then the next pick, you take Tua. And I was like, yeah, asshole. He did that on purpose. He saw I didn't have the QB2 already, and he did it. And
I swear, I did not look and see that. I really did not. Now, had I seen that, I still might have done it. But this version of it was not intentional. I really am a big best player available. Like whoever the best player is on my board, especially if it's at this point in the year, like I don't have to start this roster tomorrow. So I'll make trades later. I'll figure it out later. I just don't want to lose value on any of my picks. So there's times where I'll just take a bunch of quarterbacks because I think they're being undervalued. And that was kind of where
take 4. I've seen you take 4 in one of these before. So there's no limit to what you'll do.
There's no limit to my madness. So yeah, it was simply just well, at basically now we're at the 6th round and top, to me, if you're a top 20-ish quarterback, you should probably be gone, especially if you have any sort of youth. And that's kind of where Tua sits. So I took Tua there, which gives me 3 quarterbacks, which is a lot, but obviously a good trade chip for the future. And then I took Kenneth Walker. Like I said, I typically don't take running backs in this range, but after hearing Kubiak just gush about Kenneth Walker, he convinced me. He went from a guy that I was kind of low-key trying to sell after a very inefficient season to I've been won over, and it really doesn't seem like a team that is likely to take a running back with both him and Charbonnet there. They used them pretty well in tandem last year. Just doesn't really. Is it possible? Anything is possible. You never know what could happen. So I'm not saying it won't happen, but it just seems very unlikely. So it was worth it for me to take that risk because we are starting to get in the range, especially where running backs really get kind of icky. So Kenneth Walker was kind of that last guy that I felt pretty good about.
I still like Walker, but I hated my next pick here, Bryce Young. I felt like my back was against the wall here. And
this was your panic pick. This was your panic pick.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was even panic. I just he was my next QB on the board. I didn't want to go all the way back down and all the way back again. And then I'm, facing who else is left? Anthony. I did not want Anthony Richardson. Yeah, I'm still trying to stay young. And Bryce Young, he put together a few QB1 finishes there to end the year. So I'm maybe he's getting it going. Oh, maybe he's getting it going here. So taking a gamble. We'll see. Bryce Young.
I personally think that's a bit of a reach, especially when a guy like Sam Darnold.
I know you
Sam
do.
Darnold's still on the board.
We might get to that. We might not. So at 6'3", Derrick Henry, then Jordan Addison, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk, DK Metcalf, Jerry Jeudy. So 5 wide receivers in a row, a little bit of a run there. Then we have Chuba Hubbard to break it up, but then 2 more wide receivers, Terry McLaurin, Ricky Pearsall. So Matt, do you take your wide receiver 2 here? Or
no, because
or do you take a guy you hinted?
They literally all just went again. All these guys were in my queue. They all went. You just named them all. I'm not going to say them all again. But the last one was sitting there, and it was Ricky Pearsall, and I got snaked again. The guy that picked right before me, Green Bay, whatever is, he got me probably 4 or 5 times in this when I was about to draft. He was the top of my queue, and I'm just about to hit the button, and then all of a sudden draft comes and he disappears. I'm like, damn it, what is going on? The last one
your rankings.
There's times when I feel like my sleeper account has been hacked. They're in my queue, they really are. That's the only way that this can happen like this, because I wasn't going right down the ADP or anything. I had my own little list and everything, and still I'm getting snaked. So no, I ended up Ricky Pearsall. I was really, really hoping was going to get to me. Obviously, 1 pick ahead, because I do feel like he's got sneaky upside as a potential wide receiver 1 on that team. Maybe not, not right away, but I think as long as he starts, really smoothly and really quickly, kind of gets off to a fast start this year, he could be the guy going forward.
There's a lot of
But
good wide
Sam
receiver
Darnold,
value
yeah,
in that
Sam
round.
Darnold, yeah, there's a lot of good wide receivers in that round. Sam Darnold's the guy I ended up going with, and it's because I wanted to get a third guy before Jared got his third guy. Or even really a second guy. You know what I mean? Like Bryce Young is pretty borderline as whether or not he's even usable. So I
You're
wanted to
not
get Sam
wrong.
Darnold. I wanted to get Sam Darnold. I think it's just good value at this point because the rest of the guys I don't feel great about for one reason or the other. I like Matthew Stafford. He's just old. I like Aaron Rodgers. I think Cousins is probably going to find his way out of Atlanta. I know they're like playing hardball with him right now. So these are all guys in the back of my head, but they're like backup plans, and Darnold is the last guy I feel good about as a starter. So I go ahead and snatch him up, and then at 7-1, I get George Pickens, who I've already said I don't know that I love this pick myself because I don't know that I love his value long term. But even if it's a sign and trade type of thing where I'm drafting him right now just to trade him kind of quickly if there's a spike, if he moves on really quickly and goes to a different team and is the quote unquote wide receiver one there before things blow up.
He lands in a good
For
passing
him.
offense. It's great for you. If for any Pickens holder. Matt, you there?
Oh, we might have lost Matt. This happens sometimes when we go.
I pissed him off. I cut him off. He's
like, screw you. I'm leaving. In traditional Matt fashion, he'll just reappear randomly. He'll be back. So George Pickens.
But like, the 6th round there, I mean, there's a ton of good wide receivers that going in this range here.
Yeah.
So
no, it is a very juicy range for the wide receiver position.
Juicy.
So juicy, baby. Dalton Kincaid at 7-2, Jamison Williams 7-3. Then we've got Geno Smith, George Kittle, Justin Fields, and Anthony Richardson back to back. So the risk reward quarterback twos here are kind of off the board now. David Montgomery, Tyrone Tracy, Joe Mixon. Then you take Tyreek Hill, and I take Chris Godwin. We both took a little bit older wide receivers, but obviously guys that we know have some pretty high upside.
Yeah, and high floor. I think both of these guys are values in startups right now in the range they're going. I know Tyreek Hill was banged up and he had wrist surgery, but obviously he can finish as the wide receiver one, right? And Chris Godwin's going to get a ton of volume with Baker slinging it around out there. And that's what I was waiting for in Chris Godwin. And I think his like ADP slipped because of that uncertainty, but it just hasn't like caught back up yet.
It really hasn't.
Him signing. And I think that was, good value for you.
I was really excited to get him there. I mean, dude was the wide receiver one before he got hurt. Like, he was having a fantastic season, and you're right. It just doesn't feel like the value's caught back up on Chris Godwin yet. So, especially because when you look at my build, it's kind of the route that I went. I kind of punted wide receiver a little bit. I have Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. What's that?
You usually don't do that. You usually are early, like get some anchors at wide receiver.
Absolutely. So I have Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, and then I took my third quarterback in Tua, which could have easily been a receiver there or a tight end there. But obviously I have a super strong quarterback core. Then I have Saquon Barkley, Kenneth Walker. So I feel good about my running backs, but it's tough at the wide receiver position when you've only taken one through the first 6 rounds. So I only have Marvin Harrison Jr. So to get Chris Godwin to kind of balance that out really made me feel good about the value that I got there. Like, even though there were a lot of good receivers in that 6th round, I would still take Chris Godwin over Brandon Ayuk, over Jerry Jeudy, over even though I like him, Terry McLaurin, Ricky Pearsall. So like, to me, he's just really, really undervalued at the moment. And I know other people are like, yeah, he's older and he's coming off injury, so I wouldn't. And I get that. I understand that. But to me, I think he's just really good value. Matt, good to have you back, buddy. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So Godwin was the guy I was debating when I ended up picking George Pickens. And in retrospect, I probably would have I probably would like Chris Godwin more. It was the age. I was looking
Sure.
at, that was like the deciding factor. I'm going back and forth. I'm like, I'm going to go with Pickens. He's younger. And that
Yeah.
was the deciding factor for me. But I love that pick. To be able to get him 11 picks later, it is fantastic value in my eyes.
Love it. Love it. All right. We'll do one last kind of round where we go through the whole round. And then we'll just kind of talk about how the rest of our teams finished up and kind of then how we feel about our teams when it all shook out post free agency, any other big things that we thought of. So in round 8, it was Tucker Kraft, Alvin Kamara, Mark Andrews, Jalen McMillan, Josh Downs, Kyle Pitts, Mike Evans, David Njoku, Khalil Shakir, James Conner, Zach Charbonnet, and then Najee Harris. So I was kind of prepared to punt tight end a little bit, but I really liked the value on Tucker Kraft there. He's somebody that I think has a pretty high ceiling. And so I was willing to kind of take the risk. I liked him a lot more than some of the next guys off the board, but I knew he wouldn't be coming back to me. So I took Tucker Kraft there. It's a little bit of a riskier pick, but the upside's worth it for me. Matt, I know he was a guy that was kind of one of your, third-year breakout type of players that you were looking at.
Yeah, absolutely love Tucker Kraft. And to be able to get him, what round is this? We're in nine now, or eight. Fantastic value at tight end premium, and somebody I feel really good about it going forward. There was plenty. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but he finished in the top 7 or something like that down the stretch. It might even be higher than that. It might have been top 4. I don't remember. But fantastic value and just a huge part of the offense. Last year, he had over 700 yards, 50 receptions, 7 touchdowns, and I could see that kind of growing a little bit, especially since Christian Watson's going to miss a little bit of time here at the beginning of the season. So we could see a little early boost for him.
J-Wack, you got your running back 2 here in Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, once I took Tyreek Hill, I kind of looked at my team and I'm just thinking like, this team is a team that could win now. So I had no problem going Kamara, who just continues to beat Father Time. And I mean, he's still only 29, which is old for a running back, but it's like he's not 30 yet, and he just keeps producing. So I think he's a solid RB2 to have.
Love it. And then, Matt, we'll go all the way down to you because I don't think there was any super shocking picks. And at this point, you really don't get as many shocking picks. I was a little surprised at Jalen McMillan since Chris Godwin re-signed. So I was a little.
That's like the opposite of like the Chris Godwin ADP, where McMillan got bumped.
Both of them have not caught up yet on where they should be. It feels like.
Agree.
But yeah, that was kind of the only one that really surprised me a little bit. I love seeing Shakir so much higher than he used to be. It's my boy, so I love seeing that. But Matt, yeah, I think you must have loved when I was talking about potential RB1 status for Najee Harris because you got him here in the 8th round.
And that's what I was thinking. The same thing. I needed somebody to pair with Gibbs, and I feel like Najee is a nice, at least 1 year rental. If he doesn't turn into something more than that, there with the Chargers, if they end up liking what they see. So I at least feel good this year for my second running back because I do think he's going to be a potential running back 1 going forward.
All right, Matt. So go ahead and give us the rest of your squad and kind of how things worked out and how you feel post free agency about a team like this.
Yeah. So at 9-1, I end up going Michael Pittman Jr., which I feel pretty good about this. He might end up being my best wide receiver or most consistent wide receiver, especially if Danny Dimes ends up getting that job. So I feel good if Dimes is the quarterback. If not, he's just another kind of one of these wild card wide receivers that I'm not sure what I'm going to get week in and week out. And keeping to the theme, my next pick was 10-12. I ended up getting Xavier Legette. And listen, I love the guy's tape coming out. He did not crack that magical 500-yard mark as a rookie. So
by 5 yards.
We'll see if he can. 3 yards. It was 497.
There it is.
Yeah, we'll see if he can buck the trend and turn into something. But I love the player. I don't love the quarterback that he's attached to, but he did improve vastly towards the end of the season, like Jared had mentioned. So we'll see. Hopefully they kind of get off the ground running a little bit sooner in the season. And Legette had a bunch of little nagging injuries that I know he had I think he ended up having a foot surgery in the offseason, but not the wrist surgery that everyone thought he was going to have. So hopefully he just comes in healthy and is able to kind of get off on the right foot this offseason. And then I went Jaylen Warren, who we also mentioned kind of when we were talking about Najee on that last show. So somebody that I think is going to maintain some value and possibly have some sneaky value, as far as be operating as the top running back there in the Pittsburgh offense next year. And then Brendan Strange at 12-12. I loved that. I couldn't believe that he kind of fell to me that far in tight end premium, because obviously with Evan Ingram moving on, this isn't something we touched upon when we talked about Evan Ingram last show.
Should have. Yeah.
Brendan Strange is just sitting there at the top of this depth chart, and when he was put into action last year when Evan Ingram was injured and nicked up, he did really well. So from a fantasy perspective, I think they knew kind of exactly what they were, or from a real life football perspective, I think they knew what they were getting in Brendan Strange when they were moving on with Evan Ingram, because they mentioned that, there was mention of Brendan Strange kind of picking up that slack and doing really well last year, even before they let Evan Ingram go. So I think the writing was on the wall a little bit for that one. And then to get Mike Gesicki at 13-1, just wanted to double up in this tight end premium, really locked on this position. I feel good, obviously signing the 3-year contract there in Cincinnati. He's got a little bit of stability, and he must really like kind of where that offense was going for him to stay and not really even try to look around very much. And then my last 2 picks, Parker Washington and then Danny Dimes was kind of a Hail Mary. Who knows if he ends up winning that job and kind of running with that thing. And Parker Washington, same thing. They got rid of
Kirk.
What's his name? Christian Kirk, and Parker Washington is just moving kind of up the pecking order, and he's always looked good, and he's kind of a Christian Kirk 1-for-1 replacement as far as size and skill set and kind of run out of the slot and all that kind of stuff. So I like Parker Washington.
I like that pick too. We didn't talk about him either, and when we talked to Kirk, because we kind of talked on Kirk pretty quick there in the last episode. Matt, give us your whole team real quick. Just from the top.
All right, so Jamir Gibbs, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, T.J. Hawkinson, Reed, Jayden Reed, Sam Darnold, George Pickens, Najee Harris, Michael Pittman, Xavier Legette, Jaylen Warren, Brendan Strange, Mike Gesicki, Parker Washington, and then Daniel Jones.
C-. Just kidding.
See you next Tuesday.
All right, J-Wack. After Alvin Kamara in the 8th, what'd you do?
So I went Pacheco. Actually, I got autoed there. I was like, damn it. But honestly, I might have still
best pick you've had all day. Best pick.
And then I went running back again. I went Brian Robinson. I like the touchdown upside there in a good offense. I think he will be a formidable guy that I can throw in the flex when I need him. And then I went tight end, kind of similar to what Matt did on his side. I went Cade Otton, who, in that offense, they throw the ball around, and Cade Otton in a tight end premium league has a pretty solid floor. He saw a lot of targets last year, so I like getting him in the 11th round in a tight end premium league. And then Dallas Goedert, again, just in case, I need to flip-flop these guys in there. Goddard kind of in a similar mold that I view Otton. Quentin Johnston then went for some upside, and I think he had a better year last year. Like, he started putting it together a little bit, almost finished as a wide receiver 3. So swinging there a little bit, just banking on that he can get it going. Same thing with Adonai Mitchell, my next pick. Adonai Mitchell, I really liked his film coming out of college. I think if Danny Dimes is a starter there, it's going to help him a little more, but he still has to beat out Josh Downs and Michael Pittman for targets. So until one of them leaves or something happens, I think I'm still just going to be sitting and waiting on the talent that I see in Mitchell. Then I went with Jerome Ford. If Cleveland doesn't end up bringing Chubb back, that's still yet to be decided, right?
Yep.
On Nick Chubb.
There's no,
I thought,
there's no
I
movement
bring
there.
him back. But if we don't, Jerome Ford has shown flashes of being a solid and capable player. And even if we bring in a rookie, that's like a little later on day 3, I still think Ford's going to be the guy until he's not. But that's if Chubb doesn't come back to Cleveland. So I like getting him there, 15th round. So I'm pretty deep at running back. Little loose, little shallow at quarterback. I only have 2, and Jayden Daniels and Bryce Young. So with this team, I'm going for like a win now build, and I would definitely be seeking to get like an older vet that I can throw in my QB3 spot or even QB2 if Bryce Young doesn't work out. So from the top, I got Jayden Daniels, Drake London, Breece Hall, AJ Brown, Xavier Worthy, Bryce Young, Tyreek Hill, Alvin Kamara, Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Cade Otton, Dallas Goedert, Quentin Johnston, Adonai Mitchell, and Jerome Ford.
All right. The best team in the draft. After Tucker Kraft, I doubled up on what were 49er receivers, but one now is a Washington Commander. So I got Deebo Samuel as my wide receiver at 9-12. He's my wide receiver 3. And then I got Juwan Jennings at 10-1. We saw when guys were out and he got the opportunity, he made the most of it. I mean, he had some monster games. So we know he's capable of some big time things. We'll see how kind of that offense works and moves this season, but he could be a very high upside pick. Couldn't help it. Just seemed like there was some value again on quarterback. So in round 11, I took Russell Wilson. I do think he's once again a starter somewhere this year, whether it's Pittsburgh or New York. I think he's one of the starting quarterbacks in one of those cities. So I had to take him there. Got my boy Javonte at 12-1. We mentioned it in the free agent show. Could end up being nothing. But at this point in the draft, to get somebody that has any shot at all to be a starting running back is more than worth it to me. So totally worth doing it. And I think he will at least be involved. I don't know that he will be the lead guy, but I think he will at the very least be involved this year. So I took Javonte there. Malik Washington, kind of a young upside player that showed some flashes at the end of the year. I liked his rookie tape. And I don't know what's going to happen with Tyreek Hill long term. So thought I would kind of take a little bit of a flyer on him. Hunter Henry, just kind of a safety net behind Tucker Kraft. He's Mr. Consistent, like tight end 11 every year. You know, that kind of guy. Like he's not sexy.
He'll consistently get you 8 points.
Exactly. Yeah. If you need 10 points, he'll get you 8. But if you need 8, he'll get you 8.
He had a good year last year.
He did. He's very solid there. And then the aforementioned guy that you guys were like, I mean, this guy's a little interesting. I like that because I threw him in at the very end of the draft for Raheem Mostert, last pick of the draft. Who knows what happens there? So going from top to bottom, Josh Allen, Marvin Harrison, Kyler Murray, Saquon Barkley, Tua, Kenneth Walker, Chris Godwin, Tucker Kraft, Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings, Russell Wilson, Javonte Williams, Malik Washington, Hunter Henry, and Raheem Mostert. So that wraps up our show. Guys, any last thoughts on these free agents?
I want to hear what is everyone's favorite team? I couldn't word that. God.
Do you guys really want to know that? I mean, we can.
I do.
We can ask them, but I don't think you guys want to know the answer.
I mean, clearly Dynasty Price's team is better than Dynasty Jared's team.
I'm not,
but I mean, that's his right.
I never became that. All right.
I know. I just named you. It's fine.
You're wrong.
I mean, I think. Well, I mean, come on, Jared. You're at both the premium positions. You're struggling here. I mean, you're second. You're second quarterback.
Jared, I'm better at you than quarterback. I'm better at you than running back, and I'm better at you than you at tight end.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm better than you at receiver pretty easily. And
okay, so you got one of the four. You got one of the four.
I got Jayden Daniels. That's all that matters.
He does the guy that I didn't want. You took the guy I didn't want.
Hey, listen.
You asked it. I wasn't going to push this narrative. You said, I want to know who's the best. You asked for it.
I'm looking at it, and I still think mine's better. I don't know. I like it more.
Jared, how much did you have to drink tonight?
I mean, Cade Otton with with what's his name in the lineup is he was pretty abysmal. And with Chris Godwin back, I don't love that pick. Dallas Goedert, they're talking about trading that dude. There's a lot of rumors swirling around that guy's gone. So that's
Kamara,
that's the
Pacheco,
tough
and
one for
Brian
me.
Robinson are all going to have new running backs on their teams.
I want to hear what the Nerd Herd thinks. All right,
and they're all going to have new players on their team after the draft.
That's what the point was. I kind of wish that we would have included rookies in this.
It is fun.
I bet you would after you looked at your team.
Ready
of course you'd want it.
All right, listen, Mr. Taking TJ Hawkinson 20 picks early and Jayden Reed 60 picks early. Jesus.
Yeah.
What are we doing
there
here?
You go. Yeah. Two picks that you just named that it is what it is. I was busy.
212.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you guys. We will be back with our rookie breakdowns next week. A little bit unique. Normally it's, all one position, but we had to do an extra week of running back because of how good the position is. So we'll be back next week with one running back episode and then one wide receiver episode. And of course, Rich will be back to join us, our fearless leader. And we'll see you guys next week.
Adios.
Hey, Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds has an incredible new offer from Underdog Fantasy for new customers. When you sign up as a new customer, you'll get a chance at their new customer free pick. But that's not all. Underdog is also offering incredible deposit bonuses. Use the promo code NERDS when you first sign up, and Underdog will give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash with your first deposit. That's right, $1,000 to kickstart your fantasy football journey. Don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app. Sign up today with promo code NERDS and start your journey to fantasy football glory today. Must be 18, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. And in Tennessee, call 1-800-889-9789.